All right, listen, let's get into this tonight. Just playing a little bit of music. Listen, this is a relationship GPT, and this is the prompt live on Instagram. And so let's get into this tonight. I want to talk to you about four things. And the four things I want to hit you with is I want to talk about basically my marriage history, some marriage history that maybe it resonates with you. Maybe it will stick with you a little bit and hit you on some things. But my marriage history, and I want to talk about really four particular things. It is how I felt immediately after I said I do. Immediately after I said I do, how did I feel? Then I want to talk about, one thing, and there's several, but I want to talk about this one thing that impacted my marriage for years and what it was and how it impacted my marriage. And I think a lot of men and young men, particularly, this will resonate with you. And if you're a young man that, depending on your age and it hadn't gotten too bad for you, you still have a chance to do something different about it. Then number three is what am I learning or what have I learned about marriage over 25 years? I got married over 25 years ago. What have I learned in 25 years of marriage? And then I'm going to share with you just one funny story that I have from my dating years, going like digging deep. I got a few stories, but from my dating years, I'll share just one funny story. So let me get started with the first one is immediately after saying I do. So let me paint this picture for you. It's me and my wife. This is how I know I wouldn't survive in today's dating culture. For real, I wouldn't survive because, man, I had to wait for the paycheck just to pay for the license for us to get married. And so we had to schedule our marriage based around paychecks at that time. And I know today's woman were like, man, you too broke to pay the 80 something dollars for the marriage license. I know doggone well you ain't going to be able to take care of me. Rah, rah, rah. But yeah, here we are. Here we are. So I had an opportunity to get married and we went to the courthouse. We did that. We didn't go. We had a wedding later. So we got married one year and probably about, I want to say 8 months later, we had an actual wedding, low budget wedding, did a little honeymoon. Again, let me tell you how I know wouldn't survive with today's woman because when we did our honeymoon, we went to Orlando with barely a little bit of money. And I can still remember the barbecue restaurant that we ate at. We went to the Orlando Visitor Center to get something where we could get some discounted tickets, all kind of stuff, like just ghetto by today's standards. But my wife and I, that's how our marriage started. But immediately following I do, I man, I was terrified. I think both of us was. Me and my wife have talked about this in the years since, but just really just terrified. Like, what the hell did we just do? Type of terrified. And I often tell this story, and sometimes I'm reluctant to tell it because people think it's like this hokey thing, and it's not. It is literally. So where we live at, we came out of the courthouse and we came around. I forget where we went, but there's this at one point where we're going up like this hill because it's like a valley. Then it comes up this hill. And as we're coming up, we saw two, not one, two of the most beautiful rainbows you ever want to see. And we saw those and just took them as God's promise that we did the right thing and we're going to be okay. And so that initial thing was absolutely fear. It was 100% fear when my wife and I first got married. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. It was fear all the way around for me that what the hell did we just do? And my wife has echoed those same sentiments. We were violating the cardinal rule in marriage, which is don't enter into it lightly. And we entered into it what we thought was not lightly, but we had no idea what was in store for us. We had no idea what marriage was about. We had no idea how it's going to transform us, mature us, grow us. We had no idea that we needed a special spark, a special something that we didn't find out until like 17 years later, that we needed this something special to really make our marriage stick, make our marriage strong, and make our marriage special. So that was like my immediate reaction, my immediate feel on that first time, like immediately after my marriage, after immediately after saying I do. And on top of that, we didn't let a lot of people know that we got married. Like we kept it to a secret because I felt like she deserved to have that wedding moment and go down the aisle and all of that good stuff. And we didn't necessarily, so we kept it a secret. Only a handful of people knew that we were actually married, so that when we did have that wedding, those 8 months later, that we did it. So that was the thing, man. And again, not long after we got married, I mean, we was living with my mother-in-law, I think, for about the first year of our marriage. So again, I wouldn't survive in these dating streets today. Uh, I've done a video. You have to catch that on my YouTube about why my wife shouldn't have married me. And you can go and watch that video and see some of the points that I made in that. All right. So let's talk about something from my past that impacted my marriage for a while. Something from my past that impacted my marriage for a while. If you, before I answer this, if you ever have a question, you want me to cover something on the prompt, you want to, and I usually call it the prompt because it's just like Chat GPT. You put in the prompt, I'm going to give you an answer. So if you want something to really to answer a question, and you want to have a question that you want me to answer on the prompt and process it, I will process it, and I will always add any authenticity, meaning if I have some life lived experience with your question, I'm going to tell you that. But anything, as you listen to my responses, you need to calibrate them for your life. Okay, so one thing from my past that really impacted me or negatively impacted my marriage over the years. And I would say that, man, when I was growing up, so a few different things. When I was growing up, like I felt like I was the ugly duckling. I wasn't a kid, the girl, the guy that every woman or girl wanted and those type of things. So, once my friends started becoming sexually active at a teenage year, now I was exposed to sex very, very early in my life. It wasn't through molestation or any trauma like that, but I was exposed to sex at a very, very young age. And, through seeing dirty books, and we stumbled on them and all that kind of stuff, seeing a couple of videos, even getting an opportunity to explore girls' bodies and look and hunch and all that good stuff. And so when I'm a teenager and all my friends are starting to have sex and they all going off in the woods and doing stuff, and I don't have anyone necessarily that wanted to do it with me in those times, I found it was interesting, right? I can still remember first young lady I got a chance to have sex with, and what that was like. And we sitting here doing some stuff. Listen, if you ain't ready for the real, you might want to turn. I'll give you a quick second. 3, 2, 1. Okay, so we having sex, and I can remember her saying, "Don't you come at me." I don't have no idea what she's necessarily talking about per se, and she was experienced, I was not. And so we're doing all this and that, but that even wasn't the thing. The thing that really kind of stuck with me and influences, those things influence, and this just put it on steroids. So when we coming up and where we're coming up at, man, some of the guys on the block, particularly some of the guys who are on the block that were selling dope. Hey, what's going on, Jody? Thank you for joining. Thank you for tuning in for however long. um you know we had some of the guys trying to hit the button. um some of the guys on the block, and this negatively impacted my marriage over the years. It took me a while to recognize it, but the guys on the block, they would actually give us dope to go trick with. That's kind of environment I grew up around a little bit, right? They would give us dope because they wanted to see the young bucks, get their rocks off and all this and that. And so we would go tricking, and sometimes, man, we'd even save up our money to get us enough, enough from them to go and, where all of us could go and get with the trick or two that was there. Now, we're talking about tricking, we're talking about ladies who were exploiting their bodies or having their bodies exploited so that they could support their drug habit. We didn't know any better as young men. We just saw the end goal. Man, I get to, stick something in something and something come out. And so the thing about tricking, you get exposed to a lot because these are usually experienced women. So they do stuff to you that you ain't even know. Like, yeah, I like that. I didn't even know I was gonna like that. But you're dealing with this, and you're as a young man. I'm talking about probably first time I tricked was 13, 14 years old, maybe. No, 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 15. Probably about 15 was the first time I tricked. And because I'm at 15 and it's the first time that I trick, man, it was interesting, right? So you're tricking and you're having all this stuff done to you and you getting to do what you thought you heard. Oh yeah, man, put her in the buck. Oh, do this, hit it from the back, do all that. So you carry this very juvenile mindset into sex with women, even once you're having sex with women who are not tricking. You're starting to date. What you're learning is it's all about you. Like the moment is all about you. Forget her because the trick, all she wanted was to get her dope, and she gonna give you whatever she want because she didn't have the money for it. And you gonna do that right there, and you gonna get your rocks off, and it's all about you. She didn't care. Her job was to get you there as fast as possible so that she could get to what she wanted as fast as possible. And I'm not proud of it. I'm ashamed of it for sure because I was raised in a predominantly matriarchal family, and because I was raised in a predominantly matriarchal family, I just had a different respect for women. I wasn't taught to treat women like that. But hey, this is what I'm learning at a young age. And so now I'm dealing with these ladies like this. And man, there was times, unfortunately, where, it's 4 or 5 of us stacked up deep in an abandoned project house, with the lady, and you got to give it all to us. You talking about for $20 or $40, 4 or 5 servicing 4 or 5 teenagers doing whatever. And yeah, but you learn to devalue this thing that God has placed a high value on in sex. And so we did our thing and we carried that into our relationship. So then when you're starting to date young women and you get the opportunity to have sex, it ain't even about her, it's about you. It's about you. And then when you get married, guess what? When you get married, it's still not about her. It's still about you. So that was, for years, I'm taking that in my marriage where my wife wasn't necessarily the priority. I knew she needed to get something out of it, but it's like, if you get you before I get me, that's how I was kind of raised. So it is that mindset and mentality, and that hurts your sexual life in your bedroom, in your marriage, because you come in, the Bible says that the bedroom is undefiled, but when you experience that kind of stuff as a young man, you come in with a very defiled mindset around marriage. You really do. So that was something that really happened. And just, man, is a whole nother ball game. Is a whole nother ball game. And so, yeah, that's something from my past that haunted and impacted my marriage for a long, long time because I didn't necessarily understand, you know, how to prioritize the sexual satisfaction of my wife. And even as a young man, a lot of times you're taught that pain is pleasure. So if you could hit it and make a back up from it or do something like that, or make a moan loud, whatever that might be, you think that you really have done something and you ain't done nothing, right? So that's something that really impacted my marriage for years. So So, third thing, third prompt I want to hit you with is, what am I learning about myself after 25 years of marriage? What am I learning about myself after 25 years of marriage? And I'm learning one simple lesson in this season. I can be a better man. I know I've probably already said this. You probably are going to have heard this from me 1,000 times, and you're going to hear it from me a million more. I can be a better man. I can. I can be a better man. That's what I have learned in 25 years of marriage. I have been doing being a husband wrong. Let me explain. Let me explain. When I say I've been doing being a husband wrong, what I mean by that is I've been focusing on being a better husband without necessarily being a better man. Now, someone may look and say, well, are you a bad man? No, I'm not a bad dude by whatever standards you may choose to measure, but I can be better. I can be better. And I was trying to build, it's when you're trying to be a better husband before you're a better man, it's like trying to put the roof on before you have a foundation. That's really, unless your foundation is dirt, it's like literally like trying to put the roof on before you have a foundation. Yeah, you could put it up, but it's now going to make it more challenging for you to build a foundation. You can put the roof up, but it may not withstand as much as it once could have or would if it had a firm foundation. No, that's great that you have the roof up, but now you're trying to put the walls on and you don't have the foundation. That's not going to be the best house. Even when we read the Bible and it talks about the two houses and one fell because it's built on sand, but the other one lasted because they built down to the rock and then built on that. The rock in that story, from the perspective or context of what I'm talking about, is being a better man. And then I will automatically or naturally become a better husband. Now, being a good man doesn't guarantee you, because there's things that you have to learn about in terms of being a better man, and there's things that you have to learn about being a better husband. The better man just gives you a foundation to put that on, right? Let me see if I could give you a practical lesson on that. Oh, let me go back to what I just talked about tricking. If I really learned how to sexually respect sex, right? Respect women and respect sex as a single dude out doing crazy stuff, that made me a better man. So when it came time to get into the bedroom and make sure that I am being a blessing to my wife as well as myself in the bedroom, then that makes me a better husband. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Um, Let me see if I can give you another example of being a better man. So say if I'm a better man because better man is disciplined with his finances. If I am disciplined with my finances as a man, not having a poverty mindset, not being a you know, overly frugal, whatever that is, if I'm a better man at that point, then I think about it from this standpoint, right? Come on, Broxton, jump on here. If I'm a better man at that point, then as far as being disciplined with my finances, when I get a wife, I'm going to be a better husband because I already have the basics of being financially disciplined, right? I already have the basics of being financially disciplined. And so that's going to make me a better husband. So that's kind of the thing. Oh, Broxton ran on me. See, I got my homeboy Broxton. He's a Florida State fan, and he always telling me, "Put me in the game, coach. Put me in the game, coach." And I just welcomed him on screen. He wouldn't come. He wouldn't come. But that is that I've learned over 25 years that I can be a better man. And I have some regrets. It's like, man, I wish I'd have came to this conclusion earlier. But it's not too late to make sure I'm being that better person. So here's my last thing, and I'm getting ready to leave y'all alone for tonight. Is what's one funny story from my dating journey? Man, it's been 25 years, hadn't dated in a while. But the one funny story from our dating adventures that is always stuck with me, and I have a few, but the one that's always stuck with me is when my wife was first getting to know me. She, because at that time I was kind of thugging it. You know, that's who I hang out. In the words of the late great philosopher Tupac Shakur, I hang with the criminals and the drug dealers. I was kind of around that element a little bit, and my wife, she had heard a little bit about me, but she didn't know a lot about me. And so, we would talk the Bible every now and again. So I can remember her like basically giving me a Bible quiz. And I'm like not only answering the questions, but I'm expounding on the understanding of the scripture. And she like, oh, okay, okay, look at you. What my wife didn't know about me when she met me is me and my brother and I used to teach the youth Sunday school. My brother and I, um, we used to teach the youth Sunday school. I ministered my first sermon at age 15. Gave my first sermon at age 15. I can't remember the title, but I remember because a lot of ladies in our church used to like to play bingo, and I talked up under their clothes about playing bingo with the Lord's money. Yeah, yeah, just rookie stuff, right? I don't even remember all my points, but I preached my first sermon at age 15. Our pastor had one Sunday a month where the youth got to get up and express the word of God. And so I preached my first sermon at 15. So she ain't know none of that about me. Yeah, I know the Bible. I think I read Revelations all the way through when I was like 12 and understood some of it. So she had no idea. So when she's doing it, and when I caught on what she's doing, I kind of, oh, you give me a Bible quiz? You think, girl, I taught Sunday school. What you think going on? So yeah, I always laugh at that. That my wife was thinking that I was a pure heathen. Maybe she thought she was my missionary. I'm finna reform you, you heathen. I don't know, like Esther, you fish eyed fool. Yeah, I don't know what she was thinking, but yeah, uh, she gave me a Bible quiz, and that was pretty funny. So listen, I hope that something I've shared has helped you in the seriousness and maybe prompted you to consider some things in your life, in your marriage, or even as you're dating. I hope that even in the lightheartedness that is giving you something that will be helpful to you and not hurtful to you, and that it would help you become a better man, a better woman, that it will help you become a better spouse, a better boyfriend, a better girlfriend, whatever that is. So, listen, this is Damon Rich, the Relationship GPT, and this has been another episode of The Prompt. And we're going to always, baby, always continue to upset the algorithm until the next video. God bless.